Now that we've started our project and we've set up our components and set up our release plan, we want to begin to populate a backlog of items for ourselves to work on. In order to do that, I want to be able to create what in Jira we call issues. And the easiest way to do that is just to press the letter C or click on the Create button at the top. When you do, it will bring up the Create Issue box here, which helps to structure basically what you're going to try to populate here. Now, there are different types of issues in Jira. Tasks might refer to broad-based tasks that need to be done generally at the beginning of your project before you begin to do your heavy work. Later on, when we start looking at the specific activities that we're doing within a particular story or in a particular sprint, we'll actually talk about the idea of subtasks, which is really how you'll track and manage those. You can also track the work as just a bug that's being managed. Epics are big stories which will need to be broken down into smaller chunks, but you notice that the default here is just to create a story. So we're going to go ahead and choose the default, and we're going to put in a summary description of the story. And perhaps the summary description of the story might be to plan for sleeping at night. And so this is going to be related to my sleeping components, so I'll go ahead and put that in. And then in the description, I'm going to use the user story template that we typically use in an Agile project. So as a hiker, I want to sleep comfortably during the overnight portion so that I'm not too warm or too cold. So again, notice the way I framed it as a blank, put the role or the persona in question. I want to do something. What is the thing I specifically am trying to do here, and what's the value proposition? So that I'm not too warm or too cold. So I'm going to be able to have what we need in order to make sure that I can sleep comfortably in the evening. Notice it also lists me as the reporter. I can use this to then generate any number of issues I might want. I'm just going to go ahead and create this one. And when you do, notice it adds it to the backlog that's listed in our backlog segment. Now, if I look at this backlog item, if I click on it to select it, you'll notice that there are lots and lots and lots of other things that I can do with a particular issue. I can add attachments, I can create different subtasks that need to be done to actually produce this story. We'll certainly do some of that when we do our sprint planning. I can link this to other potential issues or potentially to a Confluence page that has underpinning documents like a sleep checklist or something like that. And you'll notice down here when we get into the details that there are a whole bunch of additional fields that we can track and manage. We can prioritize things, we can establish certain labels, I can estimate a relevant level of effort using techniques like story points. Notice as we get further down, there are many, many other fields that we can also use for time tracking, for fixed versions in the case of something like a bug, right, as well as tracking activity as we do work related to this particular story. You'll see that now I've gone and I've added a bunch of additional issues to our backlog. The issues help us identify all of the particular things that our customer wants to be able to do and the key outcomes that they want to be able to achieve. Right? So, for example, when we look at a plan for lodging, they want to have a tent. But why do they want to have a tent? So they have a place to store their things, so that they have a place to provide shelter while someone is sleeping at night, for example. And so for each of the relevant issues, we could track a whole bunch of additional details related to them, But at the beginning of our project, it might be helpful just to identify the different backlog items that we want to deal with. Along with that, we might choose, for example, to prioritize certain things. So making sure